My husband has been reborn. After some hesitation, he still drove me out of the residence, saying, "In my past life, sister-in-law broke her leg saving me." Tightly composed, his voice gentle like a spring breeze, he coaxed me. "I'll stay with her until she turns 30, and then I'll come back for you." I blinked once and softly asked, "Then, could you see me off to Sungzhou?" Tao Hang frowned slightly. "Sungzhou is bitterly cold. You hate the cold the most, don't you?" I hadn't yet found the words to reply. He shook his head, assuming I was simply being petulant. "Do as you like." I was overjoyed and began packing. In my past life, Xiao Yake shielded me from an arrow. This time, I'm coming to find him. Perhaps because I was so happy, I packed even faster. Tao Hang frowned again. "Why are you only bringing gold and silver? What about the fox fur cloak I gave you? Don't you treasure it?" My hands paused mid-knot, and instinctively, I asked, "What if sister-in-law likes it?" Tao Hang froze for a moment, clearly not expecting that response. He hesitated briefly, then cautiously said, "I gave it to you. No one else can take it." I found that laughable. I used to believe that too. But in my past life, when sister-in-law fought me for it, Tao Hang only punished me. The ancestral walls were thin, snow piled thick. I knelt until both knees went numb. Tao Hang merely leaned to shield sister-in-law from the snow and wind. His voice low, brows drawn together. "My older brother died under a bandit's blade saving me. Qingning, you should be more understanding." The candle flickered softly. Now, Tao Hang's expression darkened. "Why are you silent? Are you angry?" "I already said, I'll stay with her until she's 30. The wind outside turned cold. I tightened the straps on my bundle and gently cut him off. The fox fur cloak has a torn seam. It's not warm anymore. Outside the window, the stars sparkled. Tao Hang paused. He averted his gaze awkwardly and reached for my wrist. "It's late. Continue packing tomorrow. I bought sour apple pastries, your favorite." I instinctively avoided his hand. His arm hung midair. He looked puzzled. "What's wrong?" I was still figuring out how to change the subject. Before I could speak, the air grew tense. Fortunately, a knock came at the door. Sister-in-law's maid stood outside, face full of worry. "Madam's stomach ailment is acting up again. She vomited up all her congee." Tao Hang moved faster than anyone. He had stepped halfway out when he turned back and asked, "You're not going to eat this sour apple pastry, right?" His eyes were full of concern. And I, suddenly, didn't want to give him what he wanted. "The Jin Chui shop is just behind the house. Send someone to buy it for her. It'll only take a quarter hour." Tao Hang was silent for a while. Then his tone turned absolute. "She can't wait that long." In truth, the pastries weren't expensive. I had bought 3 whole baskets. Maid Mingyue had just finished loading the luggage. Her eyes were red with frustration. "Miss, are we really just leaving like this? Clearly, you are the true mistress of Tao Manor." My mouth was bitter. So bitter it stung my teeth. I nodded repeatedly. "Right. I forgot something." Mingyue's eyes lit up, full of fiery resolve. "I'll go with you to get it back." I hesitated a moment. The divorce papers, probably not worth fighting over, right? I still couldn't understand Tao Hang. Outside the study. Past the winding corridor. I heard his voice, filled with fury. "Mother, don't try to persuade me. I will not give up on Qingning." Madame Tao spoke with bitter disappointment. "Then what about Yihuan? Hadn't you already promised to marry her?" But Tao Hang remained unshaken. "I'll make her a secondary wife." He paused briefly, then explained. I've arranged for Qingning to go to Sungzhou. It won't interfere with me and Yi Huan. The room fell into a moment of silence. Then came a weak sob. Yi Huan laughed through her tears, desolate. So I'm not good enough. It was I who coveted your elder brother's fame as top scholar. I let you down. Now you despise me, humiliate me, so be it. I didn't know what had happened. Standing under the corridor, I looked across and saw the room in disarray, tables and chairs overturned. Madame Tao trembled in fear, her voice shaky with tears. Foolish Yi Huan, don't do anything rash. Hanger already forgave you. Otherwise, why would he let you get pregnant? In that moment, my entire body turned cold. Finally, I understood. In my past life, after Yi Huan's miscarriage, why Tao Heng had come to hate me so deeply. At first, I thought he looked down on Yi Huan. Not until after my elder brother passed away. Yi Huan wept bitterly in the ancestral hall. Tao Heng went there once, and after he returned. For the first time, his eyes were red as he scolded me. Elder brother just died, and you already want to send Yi Huan to a nunnery. She was pregnant. Confused, I argued. She said it herself. That she was lonely. That staying in the Tao household would only invite resentment. Tao Heng leaned in and grabbed my wrist tightly. Nonsense. She's so delicate she needs 3 maids just to get through her period. She can't sleep without green bean cushions. How could she possibly bring suffering on herself? That day, he flung his sleeve and left. I found it strange and had someone investigate. Only then did I learn. At 17, Tao Heng had traveled far and wide. Once, he rescued Yi Huan from a group of thugs. They made a secret vow to spend their lives together. But when passion faded, Yi Huan left him with just one sentence. I must marry a top scholar. Tao Heng, young and proud, refused to bow his head. He turned away and married me instead. Now the truth was clear. Naturally, I no longer wished to be the one standing in the way of others' fate. I poured him a cup of tea and pushed a divorce letter forward. Elder brother is gone. After the 3-year mourning ends, you two can reunite. Tao Heng's pale fingers clenched the letter. He looked at me in disbelief. 7 years of marriage, how can you be so heartless? If you truly care, I'll send Yi Huan back to her hometown to rest during her pregnancy. The paper tore in his hand. Shreds fluttered to the ground. Yi Huan's face turned ghostly white. She collapsed, tears streaming. Beneath her, a spreading pool of blood. All I remember was Tao Heng staring at me in disbelief, his voice thick with disappointment. You did it on purpose? I had no time to explain. Yi Huan had already fainted. The physician said she had miscarried due to emotional shock. Yi Huan leaned against his mother's arms, her gaze empty. Tao Heng panicked, coaxing her. There will be another, there will be another. Back then, I didn't understand. Elder brother was already dead. Where would the child come from? Only after being reborn did I finally see through that veil. So it turned out, they had already been entangled long ago. When Tao Heng returned, I was grooming the tabby cat. He staggered slightly as he walked in, poured me a cup of tea. It was cold. Had been for a long while. He didn't care. Quietly, he spoke. I don't want to hide from you anymore. Yi Huan and I shared a past. This life, he was finally honest. I replied softly, He seemed surprised at how calm I was. Tao Heng frowned slightly. He was silent for a long time before producing a sheet of paper. With a look of regret. In our past life, Yi Huan miscarried because of you. I didn't punish you. He even indulged her, allowing Yi Huan to stay by his side, without name or title. The tabby cat let out a shrill cry. I didn't know why. But suddenly, I remembered, how excruciating those 50 lashes were in my past life when Tao Hang ordered me beaten. I couldn't help but ask. You really didn't punish me? For a moment, the calm mask on Tao Hang's face cracked, just a little. A flicker of panic showed, but he quickly composed himself and insisted. I didn't. I nodded, as if I believed him without doubt. That seemed to soothe him. His tone softened. That's why in this life, I can't betray her. You too, must atone for your mistake. Don't worry. Once she turns 30, I'll go to Sungzhou and marry you again. His words were clear. And strangely, exactly what I had hoped for. I lowered my gaze and smiled faintly. Then give me the divorce letter. The candlelight flickered, dancing between light and shadow. Tao Hang pressed his lips together and laid out the paper. 2 large characters, divorce letter, hit my eyes like thunder. I let out a cold laugh. You've just been appointed as Vice Minister of Rights, and you don't know. A woman divorced by her husband finds it nearly impossible to remarry. In severe cases, it could ruin the reputation of her entire family line. Tao Hang's eyes twitched slightly. Yet he still asked. Other than me, do you really want to marry someone else? I couldn't bring myself to say it. That I wished to go to Sungzhou to marry Xiao Yake. So I stayed silent. Tao Hang thought I was just being stubborn again. He patiently coaxed. You were at fault. Marrying Yi Huan wasn't wrong. No one will blame her. It was a carefully thought-out decision. What a pity. The one being calculated was me. He paused briefly, his voice cool as wind. Besides, your parents are gone. There's no family to answer to. Qingning, don't play tricks. The wind howled outside, blowing out the twin dragon and phoenix candles. I suddenly remembered our wedding night. The gossipy matchmaker whispered that I was an orphan, misfortunate, unloved. I'd long gotten used to such talk, so I hadn't cared. But that night, Tao Hang, usually calm and refined, lost his temper for the first time. He scolded the matchmaker with vulgar words, frightening her into fleeing barefoot. The guests murmured. Yi Huan clutched my brother's arm, face sour with embarrassment. Tao Hang ignored it all and only held my hand tightly. She is my wife. And I am her family. Back then, everyone sighed in admiration, saying I had married well. Who would have thought, 7 years, 2 lifetimes later? It turned out to be nothing but a karmic entanglement. When I stayed silent for a long time, Tao Hang grew impatient. Feigning compromise, he said. If you truly don't want to leave the Tao family's protection, then I'll take you in as a concubine for now. I snapped out of my daze and took the divorce letter from him. I was simply wondering what else I needed to pack before leaving tomorrow. The tabby cat leapt from my lap and padded away quietly. Tao Hang hesitated. His lips moved. You're really leaving tomorrow? No need to rush. Maybe it was just my imagination. But there seemed to be a trace of reluctance in his eyes. I smiled and nodded. After all, Yi Huan can't wait too long. As dawn broke, Tao Hang silently placed 2 more chests of gold onto the carriage. His lips were tight, clearly still upset that I had refused to stay and insisted on leaving. He opened his mouth with difficulty, voice dry and stiff. The road to Sungzhou is long. You're frugal by habit, but don't embarrass the Tao family just to save a few coins. 2 lifetimes. In both, I lived in hardship. Only after marrying Tao Hang did I finally have enough to eat, clothes to wear. But even then, I ate leftovers from the previous day, wore dresses that had long gone out of style. Tao Hang once got angry and snapped. If you don't spend at least 10 taels of silver, you're not allowed back home. Back then, my face flushed red. I thought life was sweet like honey. Now, my face flushed again. But it was from joy. After all, that much money was enough to buy me a grand and beautiful estate in Sungzhou. Tao Hang had become just like that old matchmaker. Long-winded. His lips moved a few more times. I bought you a new fox fur cloak. It's in the carriage. There are 5 baskets of sour apple pastries. If that's not enough, write to me. I'll send more by courier. Tao family has a shop in Sungzhou too. If you run into trouble, just go there. Someone will help you. I nodded, half-heartedly, just to appease him. The coachman called out anxiously. Hurry up. It won't be safe if we delay any longer. I turned away with a light heart. But my wrist was suddenly held back. Tao Hang asked, unexpectedly. Qingning, why don't you hug me anymore? I pressed my lips together, unsure how to respond. After we married, Tao Hang liked to draw my brows for me. I often mended his robes. After he passed the imperial exams and became a Tanhua. Each morning before court, I always clung to him, reluctant to let go. Every time, I hugged him for a long while. Now too, it was a parting across 1,000 miles. The cold wind swept by, rustling the willow branches. I sneezed and used it as an excuse. I've caught a bit of a chill. Best not to pass it on to you. Before I even finished speaking, Tao Hang was already reaching to remove his cloak. But a weak voice called from behind. Tao Hang, I feel unwell, could you come with me to see the physician? Tao Hang turned at once. Seeing Yi Huan's frail, pitiful appearance, he rushed forward. Why are you dressed so thinly? What if it affects the baby? The cloak, in mid-motion, spun once. And landed on Yi Huan's shoulders. Her eyes sparkled with triumph as she turned to me and smiled. Sister. I heard no barking dogs. Just climbed into the carriage. My Xiao Yake. Really couldn't wait any longer. The coachman cracked the whip. Then stopped. The curtain was lifted. Tao Hang stood there, lips pressed tight, pointing to a corner. Some tonic I brought for you. Remember to take it on time. His face was visibly awkward. Still, he repeated solemnly. In our past life, I treated you well. Qingning, be good. Wait for me. Xiao Xiao circled me once, eyes red. Miss, are you unwell? What medicine did second master give you? Though the snow was thick and the wind bitter. I heard it clearly. Yi Huan's voice, soft and spoiled. So improper, put me down. I'll walk myself. I glanced at the package of medicine and said plainly. It's a pregnancy tonic. Xiao Xiao froze. Her mouth hung open. Outside the curtain, the wind howled, cold and sharp. Snow covered the entire capital. Just like my past life. After Yi Huan's miscarriage, she was inconsolable. They used every rare, precious medicine. Nothing helped. The physician said it was a matter of the heart. She needed to ease her sorrow. And so, that year, when the capital saw heavy snow, Tao Hang accompanied Yi Huan up the mountain to pray to Buddha. He didn't forget to drag me along. Halfway up, the wounds on my back reopened, bleeding slowly. Tao Hang clenched his thin lips. Qingning, don't make me look down on you. It's only 50 strokes. It's nothing worth acting like this over. Perhaps even the heavens were disgusted. They sent down thunder and blizzards. Old habits die hard. I instinctively shoved Tao Hang out of the way. Amidst the white storm, Yi Huan threw herself over him. Snowflakes flew. Then fell again. When I opened my eyes, Yi Huan's leg bone was exposed, her face pale as death. Tao Hang stood frozen, murmuring. Why were you so foolish? Buried beneath snow and mud. My nose was frozen numb. Even breathing hurt. It wasn't until much later that Tao Hang realized I hadn't gotten up. He finally came looking for me. I thought. Maybe he'd blame himself. For failing to protect me. Or maybe he'd scold me. For recklessly trying to save him. But unexpectedly, a hot tear fell onto my cheek. I looked up in confusion. In Tao Heng's eyes was panic. And a reflection of blood red all around. He was flustered. Qingning. Qingning. Since when were you pregnant? Why didn't you tell me earlier? The wind stilled. The air fell silent. The crescent moon grew full again. My belly flattened once more. Another spring had come. Xiao Xiao lifted the curtain, her eyes slightly red. Miss, we've arrived in Sungzhou. The slave market was crowded. The smell unpleasant. Xiao Xiao shielded me, her voice filled with worry. Miss, wouldn't it be better to buy someone from the Eastern market? But my heart was burning with anxiety. I couldn't even spare the focus to respond. I had walked this path back and forth 7 times already. Why hadn't I seen Xiao Yake yet? Could he have already been sold back to the capital? As I hesitated, a low, furious growl echoed from the high platform near the dog cages. In the dim torchlight, I locked eyes with a pair of bloodshot eyes. His clothes were torn, limbs bound tightly. The slave dealer chuckled. We tested him with drugs already. He's got a strong build, durable. By him, guaranteed satisfaction. I wasn't sure if it was an illusion. But Xiao Yake's eyes, when they met mine, held more shame than wariness. Around us, the crowd shouted bids. Men and women alike, noisy and crude. He can't even speak and you want 30 taels. What fun is there if he can't talk? Lower the price. The dealer refused firmly. His appearance alone is worth it. If none of you want him, I'll take him to the capital tomorrow, he'll fetch a fine price there. In my past life, after I lost the child, Tao Heng suddenly rekindled some former feelings for me. He refused to officially take Yi Huan as concubine. They could only meet in secret. Yi Huan grew bitter. She threw a slave at me one day. Her smile was demure, as if she were truly concerned for me. Tao Heng sleeps in my room every night. Surely you must feel lonely, sister. This slave is rare, brought from Sungzhou. Though mute and a little boring. Take it as a token of goodwill from me. Tao Heng heard and rushed over. I thought, at the very least, he'd be angry. But Tao Heng only gave a helpless smile and shook his head. It's Yi Huan's goodwill. Qingning, just accept it. I couldn't help but object. You really don't mind. He didn't even pause. You wouldn't. And then, as if to reinforce that certainty. But if you really like him, I'll have someone send you a few packets of condoms. The slave had screamed himself hoarse. But he'd gone too long without food. There was no strength left in him. I had crouched down and fed him warm chestnut cakes. Xiao Yake had frozen, in disbelief. Just like now. I spent 30 taels to buy his freedom. His eyes were wide with shock. The dealer grinned, wrinkles crowding the corners of his eyes. He kicked the dog cage. TCH. What luck this bastard has. Better serve her well. But Xiao Yake only pressed his lips tightly together. He signed rapidly with his hands. I didn't understand. I turned to the dealer. He laughed sheepishly. He's thanking you, miss. Xiao Xiao frowned, arms akimbo. Miss, let's not buy this slave. Doesn't even know how to be grateful. He says he won't go with you. Well, some things can't be forced. But money, that could be. The wind stirred the tree shadows and turned the backs of my hands red with cold. Xiao Xiao spoke miserably. Miss, you've already filled half a trunk with gold. That mute said plenty just now. Suddenly, my wrist was gently pulled. Xiao Yake didn't look at me, he simply nodded. His fingertips were burning hot. That fox fur cloak Tao Hang gave me was indeed very warm. I handed it to him casually. Work properly, all right. On the roadside, a wonton stall steamed in the cold air. The rising heat flushed Xiao Yake's ears pink. I sensed something wasn't right. Just as I was about to speak, a sharp gust of wind, like an arrow, cut off my words. Xiao Zhao's voice trembled. Miss, watch out. The wonton stall was pierced by a rain of arrows. Patrons scattered. Chaos erupted. I wasn't caught off guard, dodging quite deftly, but still not as swift as the assassin. An arrow flew at my back. I had just enough time to raise my arm in defense. But the pain I braced for never came. Instead, someone gently pulled me into their arms. Warm blood dripped, one drop at a time. Xiao Yake's face had gone ghostly pale. But he couldn't scream. He could only gesture frantically. Xiao Shou sobbed loudly, but still held up a wooden board to shield me. Miss, go, now. He said don't worry about him. Xiao Yake was, honestly, very foolish. In my past life, I gave him just one bite of warm chestnut cake. And he dared to kick Yi Huan into the water. That day, it was the deep cold of the 12th lunar month. But not as cold as Tao Hang's expression. He stood with hands behind his back, furious. Better to kneel for 3 hours than to throw that mute out. The cold seeped into my knees. I no longer had the strength to argue. And in that moment, I let go of all lingering affection. Yi Huan had tried to push me into the pond. Xiao Yake wanted to protect me. He wasn't wrong. Ice melted and fell from the eaves, striking the ground. Tao Hang bent forward slightly, a flicker of panic on his face. Xin Qingning, don't tell me you actually love. He didn't finish the sentence. As if afraid to cheapen himself. So I completed it for him. Yes. I love him now. We've already used the condoms too. Tao Hang's pupils trembled. His lips turned white. I exhaled, the breath clouding into a mist. Tao Hang, let's divorce. He fled, leaving behind only one sentence. I'll handle it. As you wish. I had knelt too long. When I finally stood, it was slow. Everything blurred like waves crashing in my mind. And I remembered. A long time ago, I once went into the mountains to gather herbs, trying to save money. And got lost. It was Tao Hang who found me. The dark circles under his eyes were heavy. He looked haggard. Back then, he was overwhelmed with government affairs. He didn't even attend morning or evening greetings. Why would he waste time looking for me? I felt ashamed. I lowered my head, waiting for a scolding. But someone gently brushed snow off my hair. Tao Hang's voice was tired, more relieved than angry. Thanks to my wife, I got to see the mountain at night. It's beautiful. I froze. Didn't know how to respond. It was no different from now. Xiao Yake rubbed my hands to warm them. Then gently massaged my knees. I forced a dry laugh and pulled away. They're warm now. Really? Xiao Yake lowered his head. After a long pause, his eyes reddened as he signed. I didn't understand. Xiao Xiao followed Dang and translated, though her voice was barely audible. Master, have I brought you trouble? I felt both amused and heartbroken, trying to think of a response. When the door slammed open, Yi Huan barged in, bow drawn, her eyes bloodshot. What did you say to Tao Hang? Why did he send me to the estate outside the city? Xiao Xiao widened her eyes in disbelief. You're not even a proper maid. Yet you dare barge in here and question her. Yi Huan sneered coldly, glancing at me. Tell me, will Tao Hang blame me? The arrow flew fast. But Xiao Yake moved faster. That day, the sky was painted in red clouds. radiant and blazing. I didn't get the chance to see him open his eyes again. The constable handed me a cup of warm water, looking somewhat apologetic. There aren't usually bandits in Sungzhou. We were too late. I took the cup, gripping it without thinking. Until the curtain was lifted. The physician wiped his hands, as if having just returned from the edge of death. That arrow, if it had been 1 inch deeper. Even gods couldn't have saved him. The cold finally began to thaw. Xiao Shou panicked again. Miss, please don't cry. It's okay now. He's safe. I set the tea down and stepped toward the room. The physician raised his hand, looking slightly uncomfortable. Miss, he said thank you. But he doesn't want to see you. Warm steam rose from the charcoal stove. I couldn't understand it, no matter how much I thought. Perhaps. In this life, all I had ever given Xiao Yake was nothing but the sin that wounded him. So I tucked away my emotions and asked gently. Senior Constable, can Sungzhou interrogate suspects from the capital? Sungzhou may be cold. But the land was cheap. I rented 2 pharmacies. Xiao Xiao wiped the counter as she spoke curiously. Miss, you know medicinal herbs too. While arranging the herbs, my mood lifted. Before I was married, my father was a physician. He often took me into the mountains to gather herbs. Xiao Xiao blinked in surprise. But after entering the Tao household, I never saw you touch any of this again. The abacus beads were icy beneath my fingertips. After that one time I got lost in the mountains. Tao Heng bought Xiao Xiao. He said with a laugh. Xiao Xiao has picked up a few stage tricks. She can mimic sounds and understands sign language. If you're bored, she'll help pass the time. I was half grateful, half wary. Then, can I still go into the mountains to collect herbs? Tao Heng chuckled without pause. Just ask Xiao Xiao to buy them from the shop. I murmured. But I like it. Silence fell over the room. Only the spring cicadas buzzed outside. Irritating in their persistence. Tao Heng gently brushed my temple and said softly. Qingning, you are the mistress of the Tao family. How could you do such lowly things? The sky was clear, sunlight soft. The scent of white atractylodes lingered at the tip of my nose. In that moment, I realized. Even divorcing Tao Heng had come too late. A knock echoed from the front of the shop. I looked up. It was the manager of Tao family's pharmacy in Sungzhou. He bowed deeply. Madam, second young master was worried you might run out of pregnancy tonic on the road. He personally sent a fresh batch. Xiao Xiao tossed her rag aside and drove him out with a wave. And only today he admits it's pregnancy tonic. So the plan all along was to delay and keep Miss from aborting. Second young master really is calculating. The manager gave an awkward laugh, clearly caught in the middle. I sighed. Just leave it. He was swift. Before leaving, he even placed down 3 bags of gold ingots. Xiao Xiao looked at the supplements, her eyes turning red. What good are these now? I gave a small laugh and opened the medicinal packet. 1,000-year-old ginseng, powdered alum, donkey hide gelatin. Could sell well. When the dried leaves of Sungzhou began turning green again. The constable brought news. Scratching his head, he looked apologetic. Sungzhou can only send memorials to the capital. If the suspect never comes to Sungzhou, we can't do anything. I nodded and handed him a packet of herbs. I heard your wife has bad morning sickness. This is angelica powder. Nourishes blood and eases digestion. He accepted it with deep gratitude. Miss Shin, once my silly wife gives birth, I'll bring the child to thank you in person. Oh, and the assassin from before still hasn't been caught. He might still be around. Please be careful when going out. I smiled and nodded, seeing him off. Back in the shop, the assistant was holding someone by the arm. This one helps carry goods every day, but refuses to take any payment. I stepped closer and saw Xiao Yake. His face flushed red, and he turned his head away, as if afraid to be seen, or afraid to see me. All I could do was speak softly. If you want to work, the pharmacy can keep you. If you're trying to repay me for buying your freedom. I paused, then said seriously. That won't be necessary, for now. Clouds drifted and gathered again. Xiao Yake bent his back. His arms hung at his sides. I asked plainly. Which do you choose? But Xiao Yake was still mute. He gave no answer. Days passed as usual. Xiao Xiao was decocting medicine, gently advising. Miss, you've been tallying accounts for 3 days straight now. I flicked the abacus beads. There are many accounts. The smell of herbs slowly filled the air. Xiao Xiao coughed twice. It seems, he went to the black market to be used as a punching bag. A dull ache throbbed at my fingertips. I only replied faintly. Xiao Xiao sighed. I heard the bone above his brows been broken several times. A gust flipped the pages of the ledger. The more I calculated, the more tangled it became. How greedy. Even half a chest of gold wasn't enough for him to live well. When I snapped back to myself, I was already standing beneath the fighting arena. The crowd was packed thick as festival day. I muttered. I only came to reclaim the gold. Xiao Xiao snickered shamelessly. Then why bring trauma medicine, miss? Thankfully the deafening cheers drowned out my embarrassment. Xiao Yake won, beautifully. His breath was ragged, his eyes bright, overflowing with joy. Until he saw me. His smile froze, tightening into a straight line. I set down the medicine and said softly. Let's go. But the crowd surged too wildly. Xiao Xiao was shoved back, barely shouting. Miss. I meant to shout back to ease her worry. But someone crashed into me. Perhaps because I'd been up for 3 nights. Or because it was the first day of my cycle. All I could do was clutch my abdomen and crouch in a quiet corner. Amid rushed footsteps, a gust of wind rose. I looked up. Xiao Yake was signing frantically, sweat beading on his brow, lips paler than mine. Following his gaze, I saw blood dripping onto the ground. Humiliation burned hot in my face. I forced a weak smile. It's nothing. Xiao Yake's lips trembled. He slowly crouched in front of me, his eyes turning red. At the clinic, Xiao Zhao's face was completely red as she whispered. I told you, Miss isn't sick. Xiao Yake had grabbed the physician, signing in panic over and over. Xiao Xiao rubbed her temples, exasperated. Miss didn't have a miscarriage. Stop saying nonsense. The physician finished taking my pulse and smiled kindly. Young sir, don't worry. Your wife's energy and blood are depleted. Her moon cycle has just begun, so it's a bit intense. Xiao Yake's hands froze midair. The tips of his ears turned scarlet. Yet he still stubbornly held out the injury medicine to me. Outside the window, the drifting clouds caught a blaze of sunset, only to be scattered again by the wind. Xiao Xiao rasped angrily. Serves you right for not having a wife. Xiao Yake pressed his lips together, fists tightening. I watched him for a long moment. Then asked softly. How did you know? I was pregnant. His pupils shrank. He parted his lips. But of course, no sound came. Side story, previous life. Once, I had slashed Yi Huan with a dagger. When I lifted the blade for the second strike, I was kicked aside. The dagger fell into dry leaves with a rustle. Tao Heng's gaze had been sharp as a blade. That mute only decocted postnatal medicine for you a few times. Now that he's dead, you go mad like this. Now. Under the vast sky of Sungzhou. Thinking back on the past. I had only one question. Xiao Yake, what is postnatal medicine? His fingers curled instinctively. A muffled sound caught in his throat. Xiao Shou blinked, puzzled. Miss, why mention Wengong medicine? Didn't you drink enough on the way to Sungzhou? What, craving it now? Wind swept through violently, sending the pharmacy's signboard flapping. Xiao Yake bit his lip hard, but still didn't answer. I leaned closer. Our breaths touched. I repeated gently. Why did you think I was pregnant? Suddenly, a sharp thump came from the door. A letter fell onto the floor. The manager of the Tao family pharmacy stood there, forcing a smile. Ah, seems I've come at a bad time. Side story, Tao Heng. Before Qingning left. She seemed happy. I didn't have time to dwell on it. I brought Yi Huan to the clinic. I hadn't expected the physician to say the fetus was unstable. But in our past life, when she miscarried, he clearly said the child was strong and healthy. Yi Huan leaned into my chest, eyes teary. Tao Heng, I'm scared. I could only pat her back to comfort her. Softly, I said. Money's not an issue. Prescribe whatever supplements are needed. For some reason, Qingning's indifferent gaze surfaced in my mind, leaving me unsettled. I hurriedly added. Prescribe 2 sets. Suddenly, pain gripped my palm, as if someone had crushed it in their fist. I looked down and met Yi Huan's eyes, flashing with hatred. It was only for a second. She quickly shifted back to her weak, fragile expression, asking softly. The second set is for backup. I pressed my lips together, brushing it off with a vague answer. Based on the timeline from our past life, Qingning would be 3 months pregnant by now. The road to Sungzhou was treacherous. She must not be neglected. 4 months passed. Yi Huan's condition became heavier, more demanding. She asked me daily to draw her brows, powder her face. I complied, coaxing her gently. Until today. As I stared at her finely drawn brows, I suddenly recalled the ticklish sensation of Qingning's lashes brushing my palm. Lost in thought, Yi Huan dropped her teacup. Red-eyed, she accused. You regret marrying me, don't you? Sungzhou is far, infested with bandits. Qingning may not even be alive to wait for you. My heart clenched. That's when I realized. For the past 3 months, not a single letter from Qingning. Only occasional reports from the shopkeeper in Sungzhou. Annoyed, I put down my brush. How could you be so venomous? Can't bear the thought that Qingning is living well. Yi Huan was stunned. Just then, 2 letters arrived. I opened the one from the Tao pharmacy manager in Sungzhou. The handwriting was careful, but the words audacious. Second young master. The madam seems to have a new husband. I froze. Couldn't even bring myself to read the second letter. I went straight to prepare the horses. Yi Huan grabbed my sleeve, her gaze fierce. You're going to find Qingning over my dead body. I frowned. You're about to give birth. Must you cause such a scene? She wept, trembling. Tao Heng. Tao Heng. A strange, metallic scent filled the air. The midwife panicked. Her water broke. My head spun. I don't know how long passed. Until someone placed a child into my arms. The midwife smiled. Congratulations, sir. A little girl. The baby stared up at me, giggling. Warmth surged through my chest. In this life, Qingning didn't miscarry. If her child had been born, it would surely be this adorable. Yi Huan looked up at me, pleading. Tao Heng, Please don't leave me. After all, she once saved my life. In our past life, she never got to be my official wife. She endured much hardship. I softened. In the end, I brought her with me. Xiao Xiao shook her rattle drum, sneaking glances at me. Miss, that mute boy brings acrous root every day. You really won't see him. The baby in my arms reached out for the beaded rattle. Before I could respond, a voice called from outside. Qingning. I looked up and saw Tao Hang. He was beaming with joy, rushing forward. This is our child. The rattle drum fell silent. Tao Hang reached out, trying to take the baby, but startled her into a loud wail. I instinctively stepped back. Tao Hang gave an embarrassed smile, clearly blaming himself. Father's just a bit late. At that moment, the senior constable returned from buying tea, utterly shocked. He shoved Tao Hang aside and barked. Who are you calling father? This is my child. Tao Hang's eyes flickered in confusion. Qingning, where's our child? The constable gently cradled the baby. His expression cold. Are you insane? Miss Shen was never pregnant. Tao Hang's lips turned pale. His voice trembled. Was it the jolts from the carriage? Did she miscarry from the rough journey? I looked at the carriage parked outside the shop, smiling faintly. No. It was when I was ambushed in Sungzhou. By assassins your sister-in-law sent. Just as I spoke, the carriage curtain lifted. Yi Huan appeared, head wrapped in a towel, drenched in sweat. Lies. The arrows never even touched you. The constable rubbed his eyes. Miss Shen, isn't this the man you sketched as the attacker? Then his brow furrowed, voice sharpening. And how did you know it was a bow? Right as tension built. A sudden warmth spread across my lower belly. Tao Hang was rubbing his hands together for warmth, pressing them gently over my abdomen, his eyes reddened. Qingning, does it hurt? Before I could react, he was shoved aside. The sun was scorching. Xiao Yake must have just returned from the mountains with herbs. His robe half open, damp sideburns clinging to his face. He stood squarely in front of me. Tao Hang's face darkened, brows pinched. You. He turned to me, his voice frigid, accusatory. You came to Sungzhou just to find this cripple. The wind carried both heat and the sound of collapsing sobs. From behind came the panicked wailing of Yi Huan. Don't arrest me. I didn't hire anyone to kill anyone. Tao Hang. Save me. But Tao Hang acted as if he hadn't heard. His eyes were bloodshot, advancing one step at a time. Xin Qingning. We are husband and wife. I didn't flinch. My expression remained calm as I asked in return. Why would I come looking for him? Dark clouds suddenly gathered overhead. The sky turned dim. Tao Hang lied without blinking. In your past life, he killed you. A gentle tug pulled at my sleeve. Xiao Yake's eyes were rimmed red. He shook his head violently. From the distant temple, a bell rang. Long and echoing. Wasn't it you who killed me? I looked at Tao Hang, my gaze unshaken. In my past life, after I injured Yi Huan, I was sent up to the temple. It was bitterly cold. Tao Hang had crouched down beside me, his voice like ice. Apologize to Yi Huan. Then I'll take you down the mountain. My body was weak, blood and energy depleted. I no longer had the strength to curse. I could only spit in his face. Tao Hang stood up and raged. Qingning, you're far too stubborn. When you've thought things through, I'll come get you. I stared up at the crumbling temple roof. Rain fell onto my face, trickled into my collar. My whole body was freezing. But just for a moment. I felt wrapped in burning heat. I forced my eyes open. Flames lit up the sky. I staggered upright. The temple doors were locked tight. The smoke stung my eyes. I heard shouting in the distance. Tao Hang's voice, panicked and hoarse. "Where's the water? Help me. Someone save her." I collapsed onto the meditation mat. The statue of Buddha watched me in silence. Compassionate. Unmoving. A deep sorrow welled up inside me, my voice trembling. "If the heavens are kind, then please, have mercy on me." The pain was very real. But my palms gradually turned translucent. And the feeling spread through my whole body. My hearing was the first to return. I heard Tao Hang's voice again. His face twisted with torment, as if steeling himself. "In my past life, Yi Huan broke her leg saving me. I'll stay by her side until she turns 30. Then I'll go find Qingning." The ground of Sungzhou was solid. When I stepped onto it, a strange sense of peace settled in my heart. I curved my lips slightly and said, "Tao Hang, that fire hurt. A lot." That day, his face was filled with terror. He ran, panic-stricken. Yi Huan's interrogation didn't go smoothly. She hired a lawyer who fabricated testimony and demanded proof. I was worn down. My hair began to turn white. Then, someone placed a jar of black hair tonic before me. Tao Hang's voice was quiet, cautious. "It's good stuff. Let me apply it for you." I set my comb down. The pharmacy isn't lacking in anything. It was drizzling in Sungzhou that day. The air was heavy, like a stone pressed against my chest. Tao Hang closed his eyes. I just wanted to protect both sides. The hair tonic smelled strongly of herbs. For some reason, it made me nauseous. Tao Hang wore a righteous expression. "The child is gone. I don't blame you. Yi Huan gave birth to a daughter. We'll raise my brother's child together." I stood dazed, the sour scent of apple pastries drifting faintly through the air. So I didn't hold back any longer. I asked softly, but clearly. "Elder brother died under a bandit's blade to save you. And yet, you let Yi Huan carry your child." Tao Hang's pupils trembled. There was a loud crash as the furniture tipped over. He stared at me. "You were standing outside the door that day. The spring breeze blew in." I smiled calmly. "Tao Hang, you truly are not a decent man." For a moment, he looked stunned. But quickly regained composure, stepping closer to whisper. "I know you've suffered. Come back to the capital with me. I'll help you find the evidence to throw Yi Huan in prison." In Sungzhou, the flowers bloomed in August. The fog had lifted. But still, I couldn't understand him. "Do you not owe her anything anymore?" Tao Hang's eyes wavered. His lips moved, barely forming the words. "As long as you're no longer angry." The curtain was lifted. Xiao Xiao beamed. "Miss." Xiao Yake found the evidence. This time, it was my turn to brew medicine for him. He had stripped off his robe, shoulders bare, awkwardly pushing me away. I asked gently. "So, you worked as a punching bag in the black market? Just to smoke out the assassin who escaped that day?" Xiao Yake gripped the blanket tighter and nodded slowly. His forehead ached faintly. I sighed. "You were nearly killed." He said nothing. But the veins on the back of his hand bulged. His knuckles turned white. I stirred the dark medicine with sugarcane water. Sweet, slightly bitter. Leaning in close to his lips, I held the spoon there. Xiao Yake forgot to breathe. His tongue froze. It took a long time before his throat finally moved, swallowing. But his eyes turned red first. He tried to push me away again. I didn't force it. Just set the bowl down quietly. He sat frozen, tears pooling at the corners of his eyes. I gave a soft smile and asked gently. I don't know your name. I don't know your heart. So I'll ask only once. Do you want me to leave? Xiao Yake's hands twisted tightly, knotted with tension. Finally, he awkwardly picked up a brush. The characters were crooked, trembling. I'm mute. I'll only be a burden to you. The paper soaked through. His chest rose and fell rapidly. Tears slid down, disappearing into the collar of his robe. And only then did I finally realize that in our past life, I had never answered him. So I leaned in, whispering by his right ear. You are the only warmth heaven ever gave me. Not a burden. The assassin, desperate to reduce his sentence, confessed all of Yi Huan's crimes. 3 days later, she was convicted and exiled to Lingnan. Xiao Xiao munched sunflower seeds, clapping gleefully. Serves her right. I was tapping the abacus. The sky outside clear, the breeze fresh. Then Xiao Xiao pouted and pointed to the door. Miss, that dogskin plaster is here again. I looked up. Tao Hang. He wore white robes, still graceful in bearing, but with dark shadows under his eyes that hadn't faded. I sighed, finally accepting fate. Bring the trunk from the storeroom. Xiao Xiao stomped. Miss. She was clearly indignant, but still obeyed. Light rain drifted outside the window. I took an umbrella and walked toward Tao Hang. His eyes lit up instantly. He rushed over. Qingning. You've forgiven me, haven't you? I frowned, about to speak. But Tao Hang cut me off. Forcing a smile, desperate. When we return, I'll abandon Yi Huan. I'll propose to you again. Will that be all right? His gaze flicked toward the pharmacy. And he quickly added. I'll open the largest pharmacy in the capital for you. By day, we'll climb mountains for herbs. At night, we'll watch the full moon and falling stars. Raindrops tapped softly against the umbrella. I stopped 3 steps away and opened the trunk. Cloak. Gold. Sour apple pastries. It was stiflingly humid. The wooden chest had no ventilation. I paused, pulled out half a silver ingot, and said. The pastries spoiled. I'm sorry. Tao Hang didn't respond, as if he hadn't heard me at all. What? I had no choice but to toss the silver into the trunk. Genuine, sincere, with no guilt left. I've repaid everything I owed you. Tao Hang, please, let me go. After that day, Tao Hang disappeared for a long time. He didn't take the trunk with him. So I donated everything in it. The next day, Xiao Yake sat at the shop door, hugging a blanket. Willow leaves drifted around him, landing on his head like strands of silver hair. I couldn't help but laugh. What are you doing? He handed me 2 sheets of paper. I unfolded them. One said his name, Bui Chang. He nodded rapidly, eyes damp as he looked toward the second sheet. I didn't suspect a thing and opened it. A banknote, 50 taels of silver. Bui Chang blushed and gestured shyly. I blinked. What? He pursed his lips, then pulled Xiao Xiao over. His fingers twisted nervously, his gestures uncertain. Xiao Xiao stammered, stumbling through her words. He says. Bui Chang stared at her, full of anticipation. Finally, she clenched her teeth and blurted. Miss, may I sell myself to you? That 3rd New Year's Eve in Sungzhou. Bui Chang cried while eating dumplings. Xiao Xiao panicked. Is there poison? His eyes were red as he looked at me, gaze filled with sorrow. Outside, drums and music echoed through the streets. The celebratory melodies rang loudly. Xiao Xiao muttered. Some neighbor. 3 full days of opera just to marry his bride. Must be real love. Bui Cheng's eyes shimmered even more. I sighed. All right. Xiao Xiao bit her tongue. All right, what do you mean by that? At the corner of my eye. Bui Cheng lowered his head. The smile on his face deepened, quiet and content. We married in the heart of winter. Snow fell across Songzhou. Bui Cheng sewed a thick wedding veil for me. I lifted it, suspicious. Are you trying to make me wear a whole quilt on my head? The tip of his nose was flushed red. His fingers swirled slowly in my palm. So I wore it. Xiao Xiao teased. Miss, aren't you the master in this house? I chose to play deaf. Fortunately, I didn't suffocate. But when the veil was lifted, I saw a beautiful woman. Graceful, swaying like a willow. Little brother Bui. You're doing well now. Why come to see me? Have you forgotten your widowed sister-in-law? She wiped her tears, her eyes resentful as they landed on me. Your brother died, I was next in line. Forget it. Looking back, I was never worthy to begin with. It was freezing cold. Bui Cheng held me tight, more serious than ever. He signed steadily. Older brother is older brother. I am me. He's gone. You said he left you no silver. I sold myself into slavery. That was all I could do. These past 3 years, I've learned sign language. My nose tingled. I realized I had never really cared about Bui Cheng's past. A gentle finger brushed the corner of my eye. Bui Cheng wiped away my tears with one hand, signing quickly with the other. I used to fight in the Eastern market. No one is allowed to bully my wife. Just then, the sky cleared. Bui Cheng's sister-in-law was thrown out by Xiao Xiao. Spring wind stirred, scattering ginkgo leaves all around. In the sunlight, Bui Cheng's long, slender fingers gleamed. His brows and eyes held nothing but laughter. Wife, don't cry. I just didn't tell you sooner. Tonight, I'll be your dog, okay? Thankfully, Xiao Xiao had already left the room. My face turned bright red. I pinched his ear. My heart felt as if a weight had finally lifted. The past was over. And thankfully, we still had a long future ahead. Tao Hang resigned from office. He personally sewed a wedding robe, bought ice to preserve the sour apple pastries, then made his way to Songzhou. Before arriving, Tao Hang carefully smoothed his fringe and changed into fresh robes. He knew Qingning liked this face of his best. She'd stop being angry, surely. All he needed to do was propose again. As soon as he entered the city gates, from afar, he heard firecrackers bursting. Lively and cheerful. He couldn't help but smile along with it. He drove straight to the pharmacy. But from a distance, he saw a bride lift an unusual bridal veil. And it was none other than his Qingning. And then, everything became a joke. The woman who claimed to be the sister-in-law was tossed out by Xiao Xiao. Tao Hang saw it all. Qingning was laughing, truly, joyfully. He suddenly didn't dare to step forward anymore. That day, amidst the swirling snow and wind, Tao Hang felt something tear inside his chest. In that moment, he realized he really had been wrong. And truly no longer worthy. So, with drums and trumpets echoing through the city, he climbed the snowy mountain alone. The Buddha stood solemn and silent, neither joyful nor mournful. Tao Hang knelt and kowtowed until his forehead split open. Merciful Buddha, let me start over, just once. The next morning, villagers entered the mountain to cut wood. They spotted a figure in a bright red wedding robe. Terrified it was a haunting spirit, they reported it to the authorities. The senior constable carefully lifted the robes, then sighed in relief. Thank heavens. It's just a corpse. The end.